Yo, my name's Zach, aka Triple Z, also alias Sleepy, but that's just my ego. I ain't hack fake AKs, listen please, barely be breathing, I stand for the people. I make crack with these Mayday writtens, GA.
Start off by saying, maybe you don't realize it, but I really respect what you're trying to do. I definitely, I resonate with the inspiration behind, your worldview, if you want to call it that. I read this book, Ishmael, 11th or 12th grade, and it definitely shifted my direction pretty substantially. I obviously haven't made my own tribe or anything. I haven't dropped out of civilization, but the argument that civilization is in some way inherently unsustainable, that something we're doing now can't last for more than 20 more years, and if we go that much longer, then we're just bringing hundreds of years after that of decimation because we've used up all our resources. But I agree with you on so much, but it seems like there's I don't know what we do next. You say we should walk away, but is that a viable option, really?
I'm kind of over telling people to read Ishmael. I used to walk around, I used to carry a copy of Ishmael everywhere, and anytime I got to like a conversational impasse, I would say, well, here, read this book, read Ishmael.
Right.
But I think that's kind of limiting. I feel like it's more valuable if, it's not about Daniel Quinn, it's not about Ishmael, although not that I'm not recommending that book.
Right.
But in the same vein, it's not necessarily about the Daniel Quinn axiom, walk away. I read Ishmael, and that was kind of like an awakening. And then as I got more into the conversation, there's a lot of other authors out there, like John Zerzan and Derek Jensen and Jerry Mander and Chellis Glendinning and whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But walk away, I don't know if that is it. This is where I feel like the three of us are going to have a lot in common, is like if you really, if you understand your connection to this world, then with that comes a sense of responsibility, like a sense of belonging and a sense of responsibility, because if we are if we're totally connected to the world and then the world is being jeopardized by this thing, then we have a responsibility to do much more than walk away.
Right.
If we were all to drop out and live in the woods, I don't think that would be very effective as far as communicating this message and making it more popular, which I think is the most important task.
Right.
Yeah. Let me say that I don't respect you at all. No, actually I do. I agree with Matt. I do have a lot of respect for your positions and how you bring them about. I think there's a lot of compassion, obviously, underneath your creative work.
Well, I would like to make it personal and say I respect you just for what you said, that you take responsibility for the larger world, and you're not just someone who kind of, it's like, oh, I'm an individual, I can't control anything out there, it doesn't matter anyways, fuck them,
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean, so that respect is there. Honestly, it's a different perspective than Matt has, because we're not the same people, and we respect you for different reasons. I am more attracted to the artist because I'm an artist myself, not the same type as you, but there is crossover, I think, in what I do and what you do. And yeah, a lot of the times I see your stuff and I'm like, that's good quality, bam, 5 stars. It's just like automatic. I'm like, I could listen to this. If it was at a party, I would be in the vibe, I would feel it. And that's a part of me that is so not intellectual, not in books, it's just in the moment and enjoying life. That kind of part of me is there. And I wanted to bring up a topic, if you are ready to talk about it, because I've seen it maybe subtly brought about in the way you present yourself and the way some other people on YouTube, especially in the spiritual community, they have a stance on anti-intellectual.
You just call them out.
Yeah.
It's for bliss, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, they have a certain stance on intellectualism or academia, and it seems that they are demonstrating some of the qualities of an anti-academic. So I was wondering your stance on academia how much of it, how much do you accept, how much do you reject? When do you become an anti-intellectual? I was wondering your position on that, Zach.
The way I'm putting it lately is the problem with education is it forces it leaves the uneducated out from being smart. So there's like I think there's what we understand as knowledge kind of comes along with what I would call cultural memetics, like the subconscious kind of myths of this culture are couched in academia, in knowledge, as a concept. So the idea of what a learned person is kind of has been twisted by the existence of civilization.
So talking about this kind of anti-intellectualism and a video I just made in a comment that you might have made, is there any how do you feel towards us being people in school, Matt going for a master's and I'm going for my bachelor's program, how do you feel about us personally and what we're trying to do representing...
Well, Zach's in school, right? You're not...
No, not anymore.
You dropped out, huh?
And understand...
I'm out.
And understand I have been a person that dropped out and just been working for a couple of years and then recently becoming reinvigorated and reattracted towards the idea of higher education in the current system. Not some kind of out there, but I want to get in now instead of some when it's all done and good and when it's all in the future, if things keep going well or getting better, quote unquote. I want to be in the system right now and participate within this system that is so much of what we criticize. I want to be involved with that now and trying to change it from within, because I think schools and education are part of civilization and culture and society, and they are operating still traditionally under the mechanistic, materialistic and capitalistic involved type of modernity system. Modernity is still very dominant in academia. It's only a little. It's like topped with a cherry of postmodernity, and then even on that cherry, there's like a molecule of whatever criticizes postmodernity. So I wanted to get your feelings on. I know that's a lot, but on so your personal reactions towards us being quote unquote spiritual academics, if you want to call it that. Is that bad? Well, how much of it is good? Where does it go too far? Well, what do you think? What's your personal perspective on?
Tell us what we should be doing, basically.
well, I just want to know his perspective. I'm not gonna take it like that. But okay.
There was some comment, I don't know who it was by, but they made this great point, which is something that Westerners forget, which is that a lot of the Eastern religions weren't meant for laymen. They're meant for monks who are ready to commit the rest of their lives to this stuff and do it every day, day in, day out, and not have any time when they take a night off. And my mom was kept kosher, but then when they could go out to Chinese food on Sunday nights because God doesn't see into Chinese restaurants. So not that I'm accusing you guys personally of anything, but it was always kind of weird to me, like my friend's mom was a Buddhist growing up and they're supposed to forego material things, but then she had this big house in Northwest DC with 6-foot fucking Buddhas.
Yeah.
And it's like that, so I don't know what kind of spiritual you guys are, but I mean, it's like I hate. There's so many YouTube commenters who are going to hear me say this.
Zach, can you in context describe what type of spiritual you might be, so we can you know yourself better by knowing what you're not, and if you're not that, you can help define our spirituality even that much more if you define yours, and then we can use that to kind of contrast the light on it.
You get to a point where you think, well, how is the change going to happen? And then you kind of think, well, it's got to be like a spiritual shift and people have got to be feeling differently about their relationship to the world. But it was never that first and foremost. It was never like a spiritual thing. But even back in the days of Red Light Rocket, like when Matt and I would talk about this stuff, there was like a theological aspect to your stuff, Matt, that I never, it was just like, My spirituality is like the absence of spirituality. That's a spirituality that I want. The spirituality where I don't have to be spiritual and I don't have to believe in anything made up, and I can believe in exactly what I am given, and that can be perfect, and that is the divine. So, I mean, in one sense, there's a lot to work for, but in the other sense, it's really just about distancing yourself from things, which is like a Buddhist concept. But then this is what I was going to say earlier, is like the hypocrite comment got to me. You know, like I spent so long thinking like, I'm not a hypocrite, you know, and you can rail against this system and be inside of it, which is true. I don't think that we have to run off into the woods, but I think we all do have a responsibility to distance ourselves from as many civilized things as possible.
I stay mad, hit the bag, ain't quitting, breathe air, man. They scared you and frozen feet cold. Come on, that's why I do this.